Ew, get off!
Maybe Murphy can be the face of this company.
Oh, that's a great idea.
She doesn't do anything except eat candy bars and take naps.
I think blacking out would be a little easier when you're blind.
You're not really blind, right?
She is.
Why don't you look blind?
Same reason you probably don't look stupid.
I think that the voice of the tone of the show is very interesting, and how, there's really, it really, I think, never goes into like a sappy place, and yet it so easily could. And I think it's really, I don't know, I think Murphy, the character, is sort of like, an American hero, because she just sort of refuses most of the time to pity herself for anything, or to let her, condition of blindness like stop her from doing what she wants to do. But also it's just super raw and real. Like there's a lot of great storylines that just feel very what's the word?
Authentic.
Authentic, Yeah. And they're not shy about getting kind of, nitty gritty. You know what I mean?
What's refreshing, I think, about this show, and also this show for the CW, is there's no gloss. It's anti-gloss.
Right.
And what I love, it's anti-gloss without being dark in the sense of, and my concern is television's gotten so dark, like they wanted to completely spin the storytelling into stories and situations none of us would ever in our lifetimes really, most of us would never glimpse. And so it's sort of become like a horror, where you get to like peek into some real dark cavities of our culture. What I love about this show is obviously there's a murder mystery involved, but there's so much realness in the family and the friends. It feels like people you might know. And doesn't have that shimmery, you're watching TV now, like everybody's perfectly beautiful with perfect makeup. It just feels authentic. Lori, who the show is based on, loosely, which you probably know, Lori Benson, she works at a Guide Dogs of America. So I was able to ask her about that during the pilot, and then I went online and went on their website and learned a lot about it. We were actually going to go there, Derek, who plays my husband, but they were moving the same week that we were going to go visit there. So I got as much as I could from her one-on-one and exactly what the process is of training. It's a really beautiful process. The amount of people and the volunteers that show up to train these dogs and then hand them off. And then I came up with a whole background for my character before she started in that. So that was sort of my trajectory of preparation.
So I knew as much as was in the pilot, which was actually not much, and I just made my own decisions about it. I wanted to ask, and I wanted to suggest things, but then I was like, I'm just going to let them unfold this as it goes along, because I think a lot of it they were figuring out as they were writing the season. So there wasn't really one sheet, but I immediately latched onto the part of him which was very clear in the pilot, where he just is a guy that really needs and wants people to respect him, Mm-hmm. And it's that to me is automatically funny, because anybody who obviously wants and needs respect is just never gonna get it. You know what I mean? Especially with somebody like Murphy in the character, who is very kind of savvy with people's, she's kind of street smart in her way. So the more I need that from her, the more she's never going to give it to me. And so it just goes on and on in this cycle. And he's sort of I guess square, you would say, or he's not really square. He's just sort of he's uptight at the workplace.
Michael Showalter, who directed The Big Sick, directed the pilot. And what I loved about The Big Sick is it is a drama with a comedic spine. Or maybe it's a dramatic, but you're never going to. And Corinne, the creator, was really, really clear that any of the comedy needed to come authentically from the story. She didn't want any kind of gags for the sake of gags. So that it all comes from character, and it's not jokey. And so if I had to say tonally, I think that Michael gave a similar sense of the drama and the comedic aspects to this pilot.
Yeah, because Michael's involved in Search Party too, which I love, and it has this kind of mystery element, but then also this sort of youthful malaise, post-college malaise, whatever that is, combined. So yeah, it's cool. I think he did do a really he was a great person to establish like the interaction of those tones and storylines.
I'm gonna figure out who killed Tyson.
What?
Where in the hell did you get
I
that?
have my ways. What if it leads you to the person that killed him?
I'm not gonna let Tyson's killer run free, so maybe you can get to it sooner.
You're gonna figure it out.